Hello. Hey, everybody. It's Judy Klock here at Stampin' with Crafty Clock, coming to you for tonight's free tutorial from Middletown, Virginia. I don't know if you can hear me tonight. So if you are out there watching, let me know if you can hear me. Let me see if I can check before we get started, because it's very difficult sometimes for me to figure out if I'm being heard or not being heard. If you are watching, go ahead and give me a shout out. Let me know you're here. And let me know where you're tuning in from if you're watching on replay. Let me see. I don't know. I think that you can hear me now. Okay. So tonight I'm going to switch my cameras and we are going to get started. And we're going to make 3 cards and we're kind of going to get back to basics. I know that there are many people that are just starting a new hobby that maybe don't have a lot of supplies. So tonight we are going to get creative with just some black and white cards and adding just that pop of color. We're going to use our blending brushes. We're going to use our blender pens. Okay, so we're just going to use one great big stamp and add just little pops of color throughout the design. And then we're going to do what's called a spotlight technique. This is maybe a little bit more advanced. You will need some markers. I'm going to use our Stampin' blends for this. But again, it just adds that little pop of color on an otherwise just black and white card. So let's go ahead and get started. So you notice all of our card bases are going to be basic black, and we're just going to be working with basic white. So if you're following along, these are pretty standard A2 layers. We've got the basic black that is 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. We've got 2 pieces here of basic white that are 5.25 by 4. One's going to be the inside, one's going to be on our outside. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to use our Memento tuxedo black ink for the majority of our stamping. I am going to add little pops of color with some petal pink for our second card. Well, this card and our second card. And then we're going to use some Stampin' blends. I think I've got Highland Heather and Granny Apple Green, and we'll be using those for our third card. So on the inside of our butterfly, our small butterfly card, I want to stamp Happy Birthday, if I could find where I put that stamp. My desk looks nice and organized here, right? Outside of camera range, total chaos. I was just telling my husband the other day, I definitely need to come down here and get this place organized. After the holidays, and then with him becoming sick, and just, it's been one thing after another. And I just really haven't had 5 minutes to just kind of come down here and focus on getting this place back together. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the inside of our card. Okay, that's very simple. It's just going to say a very simple happy birthday. So again, none of these cards are going to be difficult. But again, if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of supplies, these are really pretty cards that you can make with just a few basic supplies. For our front, we're going to stamp the It's Time to Celebrate. Okay, and I'm just going to ink that up. And again, you just want to tap your stamp on the ink pad. You don't want to like really smush it down too hard. We want to make sure that we've got some good ink on there. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to stamp that right in the center of our card. Then I've got 2 different butterfly images. I've got what I call the sideways butterfly. And again, we're just going to kind of stamp that, make sure we've got some good ink coverage on there. I did kind of re-ink this, so it should be pretty good. We're going to stamp him up here in the corner. And then we're going to stamp our open butterfly, the larger of the 2 small butterflies, the full butterfly. And we are just going to stamp him down here in the bottom right corner. Okay, now I will say that when you're doing this technique, these open images with like a lot of white space in between the black design work much better for this technique. I tried it first using the With You in Mind stamp set. Didn't like it because the cupcakes, they're too much, it's too much black. It just didn't really work. So definitely for this type of technique, you need more of the open line art type images. All right, so now we're just going to take, I'm sure you can see this, I'm going to take, I have a small blending brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and put some ink on here. Okay, I'm just going to like rub it across my ink pad, get some ink on there. There's no right or wrong way, no right or wrong amount, just whatever you want. I'm going to kind of start it here so I don't get that big blop on my card. And then I'm just going to come and I'm going to rub it in circles around my butterfly. I'm going to do the same thing here for the next butterfly. I'm just going to add some ink. And then I'm going to get kind of started on my scrap paper and then come in here and just add that little pop of ink. Okay, that's it. You can go back. You can add as much or as little as you want. You could do it lighter. You could do it darker, whatever you think looks good. I'm going to say that is, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and add this. So again, very simple, very basic. We didn't use a lot of supplies. We've used just 2 colors of cardstock, our basic white and our basic black, and 2 colors of ink. We have our black ink, and then we've just added a little pop of color with a blending brush and some of that pretty in pink ink. Now, we could also step this up and we could add some embellishments. And if I knew where my embellishments were, I actually would add them. I think I found them. So I have here, these are the in color embellishments. I didn't want those. I wanted the other ones, but we'll use these for now. These will work. I wanted the sparkling one, the faceted gems, but I don't know where I put those on my work surface. So we will just go ahead and use these if I can get them out of the container. So these are well loved. I've used these quite a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and add like anywhere from 3 to 5 gems. I'm going to add. Ooh, this doesn't want to come up. Okay, there we go. Let's add one up there. And then we'll add a little one. Oh my goodness. It's time to maybe get some new putty out. It doesn't want to seem to. So if you have the take your pick tool, the sticky end, this is used for picking up embellishments and placing them on your card. So it works better when you have fresh putty like I just did. So sometimes you have to just kind of crank it out and get some fresh putty and then pick up your embellishment and just stick it on your card. And that is our first card. So again, these are not difficult, but they're very basic, but they're very pretty. Just adding that little pop of color, just enough to give it just that little extra, sparkle, so to speak. And again, if you're a more advanced crafter, you can go ahead and do it as much as you want. You can add sparkle and more bling and ribbons and some Wink of Stella and, do punches and all that. But I'm just trying to focus right now on getting back to basics and, creating things that are still pretty, but sort of easy for maybe somebody who's just getting started. I don't like that there. I got that little bit of putty on there. Okay. Now our second card. This is fun. You know me, I'm a dog lover. I love my dogs. So I'm going to take a big piece of our basic white. This is actually 5.5 by 4.25. I will cut it down later after I'm done. But I'm going to have this is the Doggone Friendly Cling Stamp Set. This is what they call a background stamp. It's all big. If you have a stamping platform like a Stamparatus, if you still have that, even though it's been discontinued, you can still use it. You can put this on the Stamparatus and do it. If you don't have, a stamping platform, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it after I clean up the ink that I just dropped all over my work surface, because that will be a disaster. Okay, of course, this always happens. All right, I'm not going to worry about it on the paper, but on the glass mat. that. I don't want it on there. Okay. So now that I've got this, obviously my stamp is much larger than my ink pad. So I'm just going to take and ink up my stamp this way, right in the case. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get ink on all of those adorable puppies because, you know, we got to get them all. Can't leave anybody out. All right, and then I'm going to take my basic white cardstock. Let me just make sure I don't have ink on my fingers because sometimes, and then I'm going to carefully, very carefully, drop this down here. And I'm just going to kind of press it with my fingers, okay, to kind of get that image on. Now I'm going to carefully lift it up. Okay. Now we didn't get some of the edges. That's okay. We're going to cut some of this off. So that will be okay. So let's go ahead. Let's actually trim this down now because I want to make this 5 1/4 by 4. Okay. Okay, so that got rid of most of the spot. Now, if I could even trim this down more. Let's say I wanted to go to, let's make it a little shorter to get rid of some of that area that didn't stamp. I'm going to make it 5 by 3 3/4. So it'll be really small, but that's okay. Now we've gotten rid of kind of all that area that didn't have a stamped image on it. Now I'm going to come back here with my Pretty in Pink stamp pad. I'm going to, now you'll notice I have some ink in the upper part of the cover, and I did that. You just, when it's closed, you just kind of have to really press it hard like that. Okay. And that will then give you some ink in the cover. And I'm going to take one of our blending pens. Before I do anything, even though this tip is discolored, it looks like it's got pink on there, I'm going to run it on my paper to make sure that I don't have any color coming out. So it's running clear, so I know that it's clear. So now I'm going to lift up some ink, get it on my blending pen, and I'm just going to randomly color a few different things on this design. So I'm going to color that collar. Maybe we'll color this tongue here. Let's go down here. Let's do, I don't know, let's do this kerchief here. You kind of want to do some big spots and some smaller spots. You want to do all the big spots, but you just want to add maybe like, I don't know, 5 to 7 different little areas with just little pops of color. These are just little tiny pops of color. Let's see, maybe it's got like a little dog bone down here. You can color that. And let's go with this guy's, oh, he's got a frisbee. Let's go with his nose. Even though noses are usually black, we're going to make his pink. And let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. How about the German Shepherd? There we go. Okay. And that's all we're going to do. So we're just adding little random pops of color to the card. And then when you're done, just rub your blender pen on paper until that tip runs clear. And then you know that you're good and there's no more color on there and it's ready for the next time. So I love blender pens for adding just little tiny bits of color. All right, let's go ahead and put that on our card. If I can figure out where I left all of my, okay. So now we've got this one. I don't have a sentiment for the inside. I am going to put this on the front. Now remember, this one's a little bit smaller than my sample, but that's okay. So if you're tuning in, let me know where you are tuning in from. If you are on Facebook, make sure you grant StreamYard permission so I can see your comments if you're commenting. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add this. So we're going to have a little bit more black showing on this one. Okay. let's go ahead and stamp a happy birthday on here. I got a lot of birthdays coming up. A lot of birthdays coming up. Okay, I'm just going to stamp that happy birthday. Now I'm going to trim that down just a bit. I don't want it to be quite so big. So I'm going to I could pull out my paper trimmer, or I could just trim it like that. That's fine. And I'm just going to cut it on an angle till I kind of flag it. Okay. Now I'm going to add this here. Okay, and we are going to use some dimensionals, but because this is very skinny, I've got like an end piece here. I'm going to cut off a few of these little end pieces to use. So use every last bit of your dimensionals. These little skinny ones are great for these little skinny pieces. So again, so far we've only used 2 stamp pads. We've used our Memento Tuxedo Black and our Pretty in Pink. And we've done 2 cards with just black and white and 2 colors of ink. That is our happy birthday card. We're going to add this in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that in there. And then we'll get started on our last card. I will put the measurements for these layers in the blog post, which I'll write tomorrow, but there's not a lot of layers. This was a scrap. This was maybe a 1/2 inch wide by, I don't know, maybe 3.5 inches long. So, but these are all just standard layers. So there's nothing unusual about these layers tonight. They're all just very standard. The only one that's going to be a little bit different is we still have our basic white, and we have our basic black. Again, 8.5, 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. For the inside, I've got a piece of our basic white, 5 1/4 by 4. So again, we're not using a whole lot of supplies tonight. So you don't need to have a whole lot of supplies to make pretty cards. You can do it with 2 colors of cardstock and 2 colors of ink. All right, but again, this one is a little bit more advanced. So we've got our front layer that is 5 1/4 by 4, and I have a piece of basic white that I've cut down to 2 by 2. It's a 2 by 2 inch square. So I'm going to put that there, but I am going to use a little bit of washi tape. Okay, just a little bit of washi tape to kind of hold that square in place so it doesn't shift when I'm stamping. And it doesn't matter if that washi tape leaves a little bit of a mark when we're done, because we're going to come back over it and we're going to mount this 2 inch by 2 inch square on a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inch piece of basic black. And that would cover up any little mess up that we might get from having that washi tape there. So this is the old Stamparatus. Unfortunately, it is a retired item, but for these large stamps, like the butterfly stamp, it's really great to still have it. So I'm going to put that there. I think that's kind of where I want it. Maybe move it up just a tad. Okay, I didn't clean my stamp, so I don't want to put it all the way down yet because I don't know where I want it, but I think that's good. All right, once again, I am going to stamp. I'm going to pull this out for a minute. Okay, we're going to pull it out and we're going to ink up our stamp. We're going to take our Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We are going to stamp up, ink our stamp, not stamp up. We're going to ink our stamp. I can't even think tonight. When you think you have enough ink on there, add a little bit more. No, we're good. I think that's good. Close this up because we already know that I have made a mess with it. And we're going to put that in there, and I'm going to just stick it down, and I'm going to come in here with my little hockey puck press and press that down. All right. Make sure I lift it up. Make sure it's all good. That looks, see, a little bit up there didn't really get ink on it. Let's make sure. Okay, that's better. Again, don't worry about these because that will be taken up by our black layer. Okay, I'm going to take that off. Okay, move that out of the way. All right, so now we've got our, take this off. All right, we've got our butterfly. I'm going to come in here with some light Highland Heather. Again, I'm just going to color, and again, I'm just, no rhyme or reason to how I'm coloring this in. I just am going where I think I want to see the purple, and I'm going to put the green in the bigger spaces because you know me, I love my green. So I'm just going to keep coloring all around. And because these are alcohol based, they go really quickly. They give good color, good coverage. Okay, and one in there. And I think that's good. All right, let's come in here with our light grainy apple green. And you'll notice I'm using the brush tip. The brush tip just goes, it makes coloring very easy. It goes much faster than using that fine point tip. So I like the brush tip. I don't have to be too careful here because all these other areas that I'm going to go into are all going to be green. So sometimes you have to be a little bit more careful than others, but we're okay for right now. I can go fast. Coloring is very satisfying. You see that color, and it's alcohol hues. They're just such great. Not only are they great coverage, but they're just vibrant colors. I really like them. Okay. And that is it for our butterfly. Okay, so we've got our butterfly now. If you'll notice, there are some little areas where that we've got like gaps in our coverage. You can take, if you want to fill those in, you can take your basic black marker and just kind of dot some of those areas where it's much lighter and make them a little bit darker if that's what you want to do. See, it looks a little bit better now when you kind of block in some of those areas. So again, if that's what you want to do, that's how you do it. You just kind of dot kind of the marker over the areas where there's maybe not as much black ink as you would like, and you can fill those in. But now let's go ahead and get this on our paper. I'm actually going to use a little liquid glue for this because this will give me a little bit more time. Of course, I take the one that's empty. I have to throw that out. I keep forgetting. I keep thinking that there's glue in there, and then I pick it up and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the empty one. I told you I need to come down here and clean. I wish there was like a craft room gremlin who would like clean when you were sleeping. Wouldn't that be lovely to have a craft room gremlin that would just come down and put everything away and clean up and just take care of everything? Unfortunately, that does not exist. Maybe that's a technology we should find out if we can invent that technology. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on our card front. I'm trying to find my adhesive. Oh, I was going to stamp hello on there, and I'm still going to do that. But I meant to stamp it before. But I'm going to be brave. And even though I usually say stamp, then stick, because I forgot, I stuck it. Now I'm going to come back in here and stamp it. I'm just going to say hello, straight down, straight up, no rocking it. Not the best, but it'll do. All right, now we want to come in here and we want to put this down. So we're going to try to match it up as best we can, right, when we go to put it down. So I'm going to go ahead again. I'm going to add some liquid glue because that will give me a little. You need that gremlin? Yes, Lois, we do. We all need that gremlin, I think. Let me know if he ever comes to your house. If he does, send him my way. Because boy, oh boy, it's really just a God's awful mess down here. But, you know, I told people my husband had a stroke in between Christmas and New Year's, and you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to, you know, work on him with his recovery. And, you know, there's only so many hours in a day, but it'll all get done eventually. Okay, so you just kind of want to make sure that you kind of match up those edges. And that is the spotlight technique, where you just kind of add just that little pop of color and make that part of that image just really kind of, pop up. So those are our cards. So I hope that you're inspired to kind of get back to basics and maybe try some stuff without, a lot of supplies. I think that you can really do a lot with just some basic supplies and just one or two colors. And you can really just have a lot of fun and just really kind of make these your own. So again, I hope you're inspired, and thanks for stopping by tonight. I hope you all have a great weekend. Everybody stay safe. Enjoy the weekend. Anybody have any good plans for the weekend? We're supposed to get more snow here on Sunday, so we'll see. They're saying maybe 1 to 2 inches. We'll see. I'm kind of over the snow. We had one big snow that was good enough for me, and I'm done with it. Oh, thank you, Lois. I really do appreciate that. Anyway, everybody, that's it. Have a great evening. I'll be back next week with another tutorial. See you then. Bye.